you guys hear about the no escape key for the new MacBooks? That's horrible. Okay, so I'm Mark Stemm. I'm going to talk about Falco, our new open source security software. Just to start off with a bit of an analogy, let's kind of think about home security and the different approaches that you have to keeping bad guys out of your house. So you have a bunch of stuff which is kind of designed to protect the exterior and prevent people from getting in, right? You have locks on the doors, you have bars on the doors, you have sensors so they can't open the window or break into the window. You might have cameras. All this stuff is designed to make sure that somebody cannot get in, right? But there's other stuff as well. There's maybe you have cameras inside your house. Maybe you have motion sensors inside your house. The goal there is a little bit different. The goal there is not prevent someone from getting in. It's to detect that someone is inside and is, going for your safe or something, something like that. So it's two different styles of protection. And they're both really important, but they they do different things. So if we think about taking that analogy and bringing it over to computer security, we kind of have the same kinds of breakdowns. We have stuff that prevents people from getting in. You have passwords. You have two-factor authentication. You fix the software vulnerability so someone can't exploit it and get in. You have firewalls so they can't get in on some crazy port. But you also have other stuff. It'd be nice to detect that somebody has gotten past that first line of defenses and they're running rampant within your system. This is very common in the network space. There's a whole suite of products called intrusion detection systems. And what we thought is, let's try to build something in that space. So that's exactly what Sysdig Falco is for. It's taking the second approach, which is let's detect that unauthorized behavior is going on and let you know about it so you can do something about it. And just like the traditional system, both methods are really important to get full protection. So just a little bit more detail about what Sysdig Falco is. It's, the one-sentence summary is that it's a behavioral security monitor. So what that means is you define rules that identify what the suspicious behavior is, and we'll see in some of the examples, but the way we define them is by using the same kind of relatively easy-to-use things that you see in Sysdig. So the heart of each of these rules is basically a Sysdig filtering expression. And so because of that, you get all the support that Sysdig already has. It works with containers. It works with orchestration environments. It works with, nice filters and system calls and arguments and all this stuff. So you get a lot of immediate power very quickly because it's using everything that Sysdig has. And then we also have notification methods. So when the rules detect some suspicious behavior, you can send notifications. You can write to syslog. You can write to a file. You can send an email. You can post to a Slack webhook, which we'll be using in our second talk, the contest. So that's really important. And it's open source, so it's just like Sysdig. It's on GitHub. Use it, download it, give us updates, give us new rules, So please be a part of the community and help us out. So just some examples of the kind of stuff you can do. So your left-hand side is, things you might want to detect, and the right side is how you would detect that stuff using Falco. And if you look at the right-hand side, that really does look like Sysdig command lines, right? And it's not a coincidence. It's because they're using the same stuff. So maybe you want to see that somebody's running a shell in a container. If you think about containers as a way to implement microservices, you don't really, maybe for debugging and ops stuff, but when you're running, you don't have general shells where you're just poking around and doing stuff. So maybe you want to detect that because that might be a great way for an attacker to start running rampant once they've exploited some vulnerability. And so on the right-hand side, that's what the Falco rule will look like, is the container not on the host, and is the process name being bash, is somebody's trying to run bash, or any other shell. Is somebody trying to overwrite system binaries? So are they going to overwrite ls with my rootkit instead of ls or something? And so that's a good thing to detect, and the way to detect it is it a write? And we'll get into this a little bit. This is actually a little macro that allows you to share some common stuff around. And is the target of the write, does the directory of that, is it one of these common binary directories? Is somebody trying to switch namespaces on you? So you should be mostly fine within Docker because there's a seccomp profile that prevents you from calling that particular system call. But maybe from the host, you don't really want general processes masquerading as containers or something. So that might be something that's of interest that you want to keep an eye on. And so that's how you detect that. So just like the bin thing, you can write files below /dev. And then my favorite is, I saw a lot of people have the tape over the camera. I should do that. I don't do that for this laptop. But another way to make sure that nobody's got access to your camera and you don't know it is to do it like this. So is somebody trying to open a file, and the file is your video device, dev video, and is the name of the process not one of the processes that you would expect to be doing that? So if it's not Skype or WebEx or whatever your favorite is, that's a suspicious activity, and that's something you want to keep an eye on. Okay, so I'm definitely an engineer because I can't write architecture diagrams that don't just look like boxes, but Gianluca's was much better, but maybe I should go steal his. But this kind of shows how the Falco architecture works. A lot of it is using the same stuff that we saw in Sysdig, and I'll just kind of show how Falco graphs into it. So we start with this Sysdig probe kernel module. It's tapping into the stream of system calls that are happening on the machine, and everything's flowing up to user space. We have the Sysdig libraries that kind of turn the raw system calls into higher order events. So we're building up state. We're decorating the events to say, okay, this thing actually happened in this pod or in this container, in this orchestration level namespace or deployment or something. And the part where the Falco uniqueness comes in is in two ways. So the first place it comes in is that Falco runs with a set of rules, and the rules basically define a set of filtering expressions that run against all the events. And so that's kind of the first box with the arrow. The rules turn into the filtering expressions, and so events come in, and then only suspicious events come out. So the rules are trying to detect bad behavior, so if something doesn't match any rule, it's okay. But let's say something does match one of the rules, so it's some suspicious thing that you want to know about. The second way that the Falco rules kick in is they help define the alerting message. So we've talked about earlier today that you can use Sysdig as a filter to filter events, but there's also, we talked about -p and -bk, and basically you can use those same terms to define a message which is populated with a mix of plain text and things from the actual event. So that's where the second part of the rules kick in. They help define the message that you want to send. And then Falco has its own configuration to basically say where that goes. So it goes to syslog file, all that stuff. So, how are we doing? Everybody making sense? Yeah? All right. So let's take a closer look at what the rules look like. Basically just a YAML file, pretty simple, nice and easy to read. It's a little different than Sysdig because, we're baking a behavior into the rule, so you can't just put it all on the command line. So you got to put it in a separate file that you can read. So the YAML file contains three types of things: macros, lists, and rules. Macros are just kind of little snippets of filtering expression that you can use over and over just to give you some code savings. So for an example, you can have a macro binder, and it says, is the FD directory in one of these things? So then later in the file, you just say binder instead of repeating FD directory over and over and over. Lists are basically kind of a lot like macros. They just don't have to be filtering expressions. They're literally YAML lists, so they just get stuffed in whenever they're referred to. And rules, this is the interesting part. It basically has a name, a description, a condition, an output, and a priority. So this is like the meat of it. And a file will generally have lots of these rules and some macros and lists as well. Okay, so I mostly described all of this, but let me just go through the rules so we could go item by item. So every rule has a name that's used for the output string and also used for, we have some internal stats that are for like accounting purposes. You can see how many times a given rule hit and so forth. So the name is used to uniquely identify a rule. All rules have a description, so it's plain text. That gets used. There's like a help option, which is describe what all the rules are, and that gets put in there. So the condition, this is just the Sysdig filtering expression. In most cases, as long as you expanded the macros and lists, you could take that, cut and paste it into a Sysdig command line and run it, and then you would match the exact same stuff. Output, so this would basically be the -p argument to Sysdig if you ran it. And it's basically your mix of string, plain text and stuff from the matching event that goes into the notification. And then all alerts have a priority because, every system's got to have 25 different priorities that you'll never use except for warning and info. So if you can tell me what notice is for and give me a good reason, maybe I'll give you one of those coffee cards. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about the filtering expressions. Like we said, it's just like Sysdig. Has all the support for containers and Mesos and Kubernetes that Sysdig has. So that's pretty great. If you look at the way the rules work, it's internally they kind of get turned into a big old OR. So it's literally take the first thing or the second thing, or so it gets really long. But we have some mechanisms to make that a little bit more efficient. One of them is to look at the event type of these events as they're coming in as an initial quick filter to kind of discard some branches of that big OR statement. So for that reason, all rules have to name an event type. So you have to be at least thinking about a little bit about what action is being done here. And that allows it to go a lot faster. When we first had the initial version where we were just going this or this or this or this, it was like really, really slow. Adding the event type filtering made it, I think like 10 or 20 times faster based on the workload. And we had a blog post about it too. Okay, so event comes in, it matches one of the filtering expressions, and now we have something that's going to be an alert, right? So the output field of that rule is used to format the event into a string. And so, like we said, it's a mixed thing of text and stuff that gets matched against the event. And then everything we talked about so far is the Falco Rules file. There's a separate file, the Falco config file, that controls what happens with alerts, and then a couple other things that are like logging levels internally for Falco. But the important thing is that they're separate. So there's the rules, which is kind of your policy, and configuration is kind of preferences for how to act on the policy. And like we said, you can send all these different things. The shell one's really nice because you can do lots of stuff with it. So you can send emails, you can post webhooks. So that it's a nice, really general purpose one. So just like Sysdig, you can get it all the normal ways. You can get it via apt-get, yum. If you want to do curl and run it through sudo bash, I know some people don't like that. We don't like it either. We actually had a blog post on why that's not such a great idea, but like Matthew said, ease of use often trumps good security policies. So I guess we're a little bit of a victim of that as well. But go look at our blog post, and then we'll talk about ways to make it better. And you can run it as Docker just as easily. And then we have stuff on GitHub for how to install it. So, though I guess at this point you should have all already downloaded it and run it multiple times. So this is old news to you guys. You can run it as a service when by default, if you install it via one of the package methods, it's like just a service you can run like a service or check config or so forth. You can also run it totally by hand. If you have your own rules you want to run it against, that will come in very handy for the contest. And if you have your own config file you want to run it again, trust me, this will also come in very handy for the contest. You can just say sudo falco, give it a rules file, give it a config file. And of course, there's -h in case you forget that. Here's the long Docker run command. So you have to type this. Everybody write this down. No, just kidding. It's all on our GitHub, so you can copy it in. But basically, we have to, like Sysdig, we have to have some additional visibility onto the host machine. So we have to run privilege so we can access that kernel module's device, and we have to look at the Docker socket to get some Docker events and look at proc so we can see what's going on in the files, the processes. So it's a long thing, but there's justification for all those arguments. All right, let's do a demo. So this might take a second because I got to restart some stuff, but. All right, not too bad. Okay, here's that big long Docker run command. Look, I didn't even type it in. I just, cut and paste it myself. Okay, so we've got it running. So by default, when you run it in the container, so this is running from a container. It just stays in the foreground and just is like, okay, I'm ready to go. It's matching against all the events, and when something triggers, it's going to write some stuff to standard out. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just do something really simple. Let's just right below bin. So let's just go touch a file. I'm a hacker, so I'll do bin hack. So what do you know? We have a rule that says, hey, did somebody try to write to a file? Oh, I'm sorry. Should I make this bigger? Let's make this a little bigger. How's that for the people in the back? All right. Yeah, so we have rules that basically say, did somebody try to do an open of a file below bin for writing? And if it does, we have an alert, and here's the alert. Here, let me give you guys an overview of just all the stuff we're going to show. We've already gotten through 2 bullets. So we are going to install it using Docker, look at the rules, and then just some of the stuff we're going to do. So we already showed writing through bin. We're going to try running bash inside a container to kind of break out of this microservice agreement that people have. We have this really fun program that does all kinds of evil things, and we'll show it doing all the evil things. We'll show what a really bad coder would do if they designed a REST API, and then how it can be exploited and how Falco will detect it. We'll kind of show some practices related to containers that, if you don't run your containers in kind of following best practices, how we can detect that. And we'll kind of show how Sysdig Cloud can be used related to Falco. So this is all open source, but we also have capabilities in our commercial product for receiving Falco notifications, and we'll kind of show how that's going on. Okay, so we were up to the shell in a container thing. Let's see. Do I have it in here? Yep, there we go. Okay, so let's just run Python in a little container. So we're inside of the Python REPL. I guess this is a little bit of a weak example. The analogous thing is, let's say you've got like a Apache web server with Python, and you're trying to stay, pretty tailored to a service. You're not letting them do general things, but let's say somebody's smart, they know how to do at least a little bit of Python like me. And they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to get Etsy password by running it through a shell. It would also help if I get Etsy password. But I'll do it anyway. But you've already seen the punchline. Yeah. So we also have rules that say if somebody tries to run a shell in a container, then that results in a notification. So we did that, and hey, what do you know? There's the notification. What should we do next? Oh yeah, this one's fun. Okay, so when I was testing, I'm like, I really need something that stresses all the different rules I have. So I basically went out and wrote the evilest program I could think of. So I said, okay, what are all the bad things that our rules do? And let me write a program that does all of that. So don't go run this program directly, because it's going to do things like remove things below bin and dev and, SUID and all kinds of crazy things. But it's fun. It's great to run it in a container because you just wreck the container and then you just turn it off and it's okay. So we'll do that first. So just let me show you what the help does. Look at all this evil things we can do. So this is available on Docker Hub. So if you want to play with it and do evil things to your own containers, feel free. So, we can do things like, most of these correspond to the things in the rules. So we can write below bin, we can write below Etsy, we can read things like Etsy shadow, files that you really don't want people to be reading. So for this is a fun one for SQL injection attacks. So like, what if you're running a SQL Server or MySQL, and then somebody sneak in a bad query and then break out to a shell or something? So we have rules that detect that, and so you get the idea. So let's just fire this up. Okay, so basically we're just going to run it where it loops over all the bad things and does one bad thing every 5 seconds. So it's kind of looping everything now and say, hey, what do you know? Falco's starting to detect everything. So, hey, look, we got all the bad things that you want to do. So I'm sure it'll be great for demos where I don't have to do the demo because I don't have to think of all the bad things myself. I can just have this program do it. Let's do Sysdig Cloud now. Okay, so much bigger can I make this? So you can see, so the way it works in Sysdig Cloud is our agent has Falco capabilities in it, and when it detects suspicious behavior, it uploads that to Sysdig Cloud, and you can see all of that stuff as events. It's a feature we're rolling out now-ish. We're talking to customers, kind of staging it out. But you can see, this is a great audit log, and so you can see it's also being updated as I knew more bad things. So it's saying what the action is and, when it was and where it was and all that stuff. So it's really good visibility. I think the next thing we're going to want to do is really kind of close the loop. So wouldn't it be awesome if you were in something like Kubernetes and you could just suspend the pod where one of these things was happening and then go try to use Sysdig to do some diagnosis and figure out what's going on? So I think that's if we can close that loop, that's going to be pretty amazing stuff. Okay, so the last thing we'll do is, here, let me kill this guy. Actually, let me kill this guy too. So I forgot to show the node.js thing. So, okay, so for those of you who might be familiar with node.js, this is just a sample, simple node.js application based on Express. And let's say I'm not a really good developer, but I have these endpoints. I'm like, I really need some kind of general purpose thing that allows me to run things on the other side and just send the results to me. And I'm too lazy to actually think about security or sanitization or anything. So I'll just make up an exec endpoint that basically says, hey, if somebody does a get of API exec blah, I'll just go run blah. And this is great. It's super general purpose. I can just, I don't have to actually write any code. So that's awesome. I'd get fired if I actually did this. But just for fun, we'll do that. So I've got a little Docker Compose environment where I've got all these pieces put together. So I've got, got to be in the right place. So we've got and I got to remove the old Falco. Okay, so we got a copy of Falco running. We got a copy of this Express server running. So everything's all up and loaded. So let's try getting some APIs. So, great. So let's do API exec ls. Okay, it does ls on the target machine. Let's do pwd. Oh, that's great. We found a directory. Look, the hackers figured out we'll just run bash and like, oh, we'll get a shell and we'll be able to do anything. We'll do rm-rf, slash. But that's okay. Falco detected that. So this is another example of that. Don't run general purpose shells in containers. And it said, hey, look, you were node.js and you really shouldn't be spawning shells. And somebody tried to. So it results in a notification. You should go figure out what's going on. Okay. And the final one we'll do. Run Falco again, get it up and running. So Falco is, as container aware as Sysdig is, and Sysdig has capabilities to do things like use the Docker API to figure out what mounts a given container is using, or figure out how the container was launched. Was it run privileged or not? So we actually have rules in the rule set. Oh, let's write on this one. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So we actually have rules in the rule set that say, hey, is somebody doing actions in a container that's running privileged? And is it not one of the containers that we know about that's expected to be running privileged? So if you do that, hey, look, Falco detects that, sends notifications. Another kind of bad practice for a container is, although we do it, or maybe not bad practice, a practice that you want to keep an eye on it. Yeah. Another thing with Docker, you can mount any files, any path from the host into the container. So you could mount Etsy Shadow, you could mount proc, you could mount bad things if you're not really careful. So we also have rules in the default rule set that say, hey, is a container running where it's done a mount and the thing it's mounting from the host is a sensitive path? And so there's macros for that. So proc is named as a sensitive path. So if you do that, hey, look, we have rules that say, it's doing actions, and the container where it's running has one of these sensitive mounts. So it's another, way to help enforce some policies for best practices for running your containers. So I think that's about it. Let's see. I think that was everything. Yeah, we got everything. Okay, so all the normal links. We got a website just for Falco. We got a mailing list. We got a public Slack channel. Hopefully many of you have joined it today. We got a blog. It's got a bunch of blog posts talking about use cases, more details about the rules and so forth. So, please give us code. Please take our code. All that stuff. Look at our wiki. And everything. Almost everything I ran was via Docker. So we have Docker Hub for everything. So that's it. Any questions on Falco? I think there was one over here.
Yeah, hi. So I read the GitHub page and it says that it is intended to be run as a service. So is it possible to have like a master-child kind of architecture where one server, which is a monitoring server, gets all the alerts from my child server where it is running? And the second part of the question is that is it possible to suppress alerts? Like there might be scenarios where it might be a false positive for a certain, like a certain use case. So is it possible to suppress those alerts as well?
Yeah, so for the first thing, although we send notifications, we're not going to be a replacement for your Nagios or whatever. So I think if you want to build a distributed alerting system out of the open source Falco, you should kind of use us as the clients, as the thing feeding into something you already have. So like you said, we can spawn to a shell, so we can send it wherever, and then from after that, use what you already have. For the second thing, sorry, what was the second thing? Suppressing, right. Again, that's mostly best done by your existing thing. We do have the ability there we go. We do have the ability to turn rules on and off. There's a enabled flag that you can do. And I think we don't have this, but it's always been a nice way to think of like context-sensitive modes. Like, so you could maybe put it in admin mode, and then a lot of the rules would get turned off. Like, if you're actually doing an install of new software, then it's okay to write below bin, and only during that period. But then after that, you can't. So, but we don't have that now. It's, we'll take all pull requests. So, I think there's another question.
Yeah, for the first question, I think at one point you showed that sometime in the near future we'll be able to actually see the notifications on Sysdig Cloud.
Yeah.
Is that not an aggregation of?
Oh yeah, that is. Like I said, I tried to qualify it with open source. We definitely have a commercial product. We want everyone to use it. It's very distributed. It's
Okay.
Please come talk to us about that. So
Yeah, Nagios also has an enterprise and an open source. So.
Yeah. No, you're right. We don't quite have that level of sophistication for the open source thing. It's very one node at a time. So.
Sure.
More questions?
Last chance. Last chance till Mark does his next presentation.
You guys should be asking questions, because in about 5 minutes you're going to wonder, hey, how does this thing work? Because you're going to be writing some rules based on it. So that's right. I have plenty of hints. It'll be fine.
All right. Should we do this?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we got a contest, and there's prizes. And I'm supposed to show off the prize. If you guys all want it. Okay, so it's a prize. So come get the prize. Here, let me just get my slides up. Okay, we're going to see how this works. We're going to have everybody log onto a machine and try to find some suspicious activity. There's a lot of you. We got the biggest box we could get from Amazon. We think it's going to work, but let's find out. Okay? And so just remember, you're all going to be logging on to the same box as the same user. So don't rm-rf star. Make a directory just for you. Go in that directory. Do everything there. Be a nice person. Don't peek or delete everybody else's directory. So just think about that, okay? Okay, so here's the contest, right? So we're going to use Sysdig and Falco to basically find some suspicious activity. With Sysdig, you're probably going to be finding the activity. With Falco, you're going to be writing a rule that encompasses the suspicious activity you found, and you're going to send it to us. We have a public Slack channel, sysdig.slack.com. There's the channel. And basically, we want you to send a notification to there. And whoever does it first with the important information gets a prize. Gets this prize, okay? Oh, look, it's the same thing. So let's, if I was doing the prices right, I'd do like this, right? It's an HD camera, RTF, anyway, so it's pretty awesome. Okay, so here's the details. There's the pieces of paper, I think, that are just now on the post, so if you want to log in. So we got this machine. Here's its IP address. There's a username and password. It should have Sysdig and Falco on it. And I put some sneaky software on there. And I'm not going to say much else about what it does. So it's doing something that's pretty suspicious, something you would definitely not expect normal software to be doing. And there's an IP. So the way we can get you to prove that you did it is that there's an IP address involved. Okay, so it's doing something related to an IP address. We want you to find that IP address and basically send it to us. And it's not not the one that you logged in, right? And not the 172.1. There's a one that's not in these ranges. Okay. Okay, so identify it. You can use Sysdig or Falco or whatever it would help. And so we want you to write a Falco rule. The best way to do that is probably, I'm sure you totally memorized my format, but the best way is probably go take the existing rules file and see what it looks like and modify it for your purposes. Just take the format and just make one rule out of it. So that's in Etsy Falco_rules.yaml. If you log into the machine, we have a lot of stuff in the Etsy message of the day that it'll just pop up. So you don't have to worry about cutting and pasting this horrible Slack webhook. That's already in the message of the day for you. Okay? And also we've got a hint about the way to do the transformation from our output as JSON. Hey, maybe you'll find the JSON output useful, hint, hint. The way to transform that into the way that the Slack webhook handles it is this command. This is also in the message of the day, so you should just be able to cut and paste that. The quotes on the end of the string are very important. And remember to run Falco with a rules file, it's -r. The way to run Falco with a -c file is -c. So basically, take the rules as an example of the rules you want to write. Take the config from etc falco.yaml, copy that, remember, to your own directory, your own user directory, to start with that as a basis, modify it to give you the output format you want, and run Falco, and let's see who can get to the public Slack first. What? Oh yeah, aren't there's these pieces of paper that we put on yeah, okay. Let's see. Yeah, I'll go back. I think, so I'm on the hints section. So the way I'm going to do it is we'll see how things go. I have progressively easier hints to give out. So I think by the end somebody will be able to get it. But here's the IP address and the account again. That R is a 0, not a big O. So the letter after the R is a 0, not a big O. Maybe what else we could do is if people have questions about, like, I can't log in or something, like raise your hand and we could do the buddies come over and help you out. We do want to let the investigation and the rule writing be up to you, so we'll start with that. I'll kind of start it for 5 minutes. Oh, and here, I don't know if I have my, here, let's do this. And I have my public Slack. Has anybody gotten it yet? Well, somebody put the password in the public Slack channel. That's a good idea. Okay. And the faster we win, the faster we don't have to listen to music. That's right. Yeah. The longer we go, we'll make it louder and louder. Here, I should actually run top or something, make sure it's not falling over. Actually, here, let's do it over here. That's not horrible yet. Nice. I see people using Sysdig. Good job. And some Falcos. Also, like, say bingo if you think you got it, so I go back to the Slack thing.
Raise your hand if you have any questions as well. Someone will come by and help you.
And don't forget to make a directory below the directory. Okay, people ready for hint number 1 yet? This one I think is a good one. Okay, so hint number 1, it's related to something below etc. So a good way to see all the things that are doing things related to etc is this Sysdig command. So I think if you do this, that might help point you in the right direction. What? What? Yeah. Yeah, you just do that same password.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be working.
Sysdig is not allowed.
Oh yeah, I could make it allowed. Well, I was.
Capture stuff.
Oh, you trying to do Sysdig or Sysdig?
Sysdig.
Oh yeah. But you got Sysdig to work, right?
Yeah, Sysdig works.
Oh.
Sudo System.
Yeah, sudo Sysdig should work. You may have to type your. Yeah, there you go. You got Sysdig. Let me see if I can quickly make Sysdig usable. All right, I'll do VI. Sorry, you think you got it? Okay, hang on. Let me just add Sysdig just in case people wanted it. Yeah. Don't just type in the thing you think with the. So I think Sysdig should work now. Do you want to give it a try? It works? Okay. And somebody thinks they posted? Let's see. Yeah, okay. So you're very close. I shouldn't show it for too long. Whoever that was, that's the right information, but I would also like you to write a Falco rule that detects that activity and sends it to the Slack webhook. So that, remember the Etsy message of the day? You just cat that, or I guess you have to log in, log back out. It has the thing to add to your config, your Falco config, to make the whatever happen. So you'll want to take a custom config, take a custom rules, put that all together, and then see how we're doing. And we'll move on to the next hint, I don't know, 4 minutes or something like that. Because I think the next thing we do is have some beers, right? So
Yeah, I was just going to say that. So
God help me if I'm the one
no
in
matter
between us and
who
the
wins
beers.
the drone, everybody gets drinks and food.
Yeah.
After this, we'll do a quick wrap up with Loris and team, and then we'll have some drinks and food.
And when you write your rule, make sure you include something in the output that says who you are, because when it comes through the webhook, it's just generic, so we won't be able to tell who's who. Oh yeah, and if anybody's live streaming, go for it. If you guys win, we'll make sure you get a drone somehow. And we'll have a drone here. We'll give drones and drones and
We'll
drones.
just fly it to them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The battery should, it's totally transcontinental, right? Yeah, next hint. Okay, so we've already talked about it's something related to Etsy. So you may have found the program that might be doing the bad thing. So it might be a program called CPP. It's not. Guess what? It's not the C preprocessor. It's some other evil program. So if you specifically want to look at what that program's doing, you can say proc name equals CPP. If you even more specifically want to say, hey, well, we said it's an IP address, so it's related to network stuff. What are the networking related events? So here's a sysdig command to give you that. Might be able to narrow it down a little bit. A Falco rule, yeah, it has to detect it, right? So you basically have to have a condition that matches the event related to the IP and an output that names the IP. And your friend is Sysdig dash, I think. Uh-oh. I can still run, but just a second. So Sysdig-L is your friend. It will show you all the different things that you can put in filtering expressions as well as outputs. So those are good things to look for when you're trying to pull out the IP address in question. So I'm okay. Are you able to log in still? Okay. Maybe it's that bad. I should run Loris's spectrograph so we can watch the network crumble as we're doing this live. Oh yeah, sorry, I was just checking to see. So it looks like somebody else also got the right information, though it's not coming as a Falco notification. So we're definitely, you guys are close, whoever you are. Anybody feel like they're stumped on any phase? Like, I did the instructions wrong or something? Because I definitely don't want that to be a barrier. But okay, we'll give it a couple more minutes and then we'll do the next hint. Drones don't come cheap. You got to earn it. Make sure we're not crumbling. Oh, no problem. Okay, we'll move on to the next hint. I think now we're really just talking about navigating the files and so forth. So we know it's CPP. If you run the sysdig command, I'm pretty sure you can see what the IP address is. So how do you need to format that into a string that might go in your notification? So running it this way would be a good option. So this says, let's get a format which just has the IP address in question. So it's going to say, is the event a send to? And if it is, put the command line and the IP in the port. In your rule file, it would be very good to include your name. That would be good. Oh yeah, because I think you get your own, right? Oh yeah, I did. You know what? I did that because I didn't want you to inherit. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't want you to inherit somebody else's history when you logged in. When we do this next year, I'll get a real chroot thing going. Here, everybody's logged in by now. Maybe I can just take that thing out. Would that help? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, run in Emacs like I do, and then you don't have to do anything else. There's some I forget. It's like some. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, because it won't be logins. I think I put it in profile. And, yeah. Okay, so how are we doing? Anybody get closer? Okay, people's got the information, so now it's about formatting and packaging. Okay, do a couple more minutes, and then I think the next hint is about what the rule might look like. You think you got it? Oh, look at this. Well, this is something. Oh wait, now there's a whole bunch of stuff coming. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we need some names, though. So I see all the right information here, and I see the webhook, but like I said, it's all generic. So just in that output string, put who you are. And then I think we'll have it. Let's see. I'll have to scroll carefully so I can see if I can find... Okay, well, while we're waiting, just one more hint for everybody. So here's what a rule might look like that encompasses all the information we've learned so far. So the condition is matching, and then there's some scrolling I didn't quite have, but we got the condition that matches the thing happening. We got the output that looks at the IP address and so forth. So let me just go back and see if we've gotten some names yet. We got a name? I'm trying to just find it. I want to make sure I get first. The first person. I don't see any names of people, though. Oh, yeah, that's a... this should be an example? Yeah. I think in the config file I have the piping, at least the Slack webhook posting, but the whole thing, that would be a good idea. Okay, so I think if you were that person, so I think all you need to do is change your output string to just put your name in it. Oh, okay. So Kalu and Balu, you guys have the right information, but you're not posting to the Slack webhook yet. So this rule is a good start for that, and we'll have to do one more hint in a little bit, and then it'll be just a cut and paste test, because that'll be how to modify the Falco configuration to post the notification to the webhook. So remember, we have the rules, that's kind of the rules and policy, and then we have the Falco config, which is what to do when things match the rules. Okay, so a lot more stuff, but I don't think it's... Do we have a bingo? I'm still scrolling. Oh, okay, yep. All right, we have a winner. Kalu. Good job. Though I don't think you're a system binary, but we'll let it go.
Well
We'll
done.
let it
Well
slide.
done.
Okay. But just for fun, the last little piece for anybody who was trying to get all the pieces together, you had to change JSON output to true. And here was your cut and paste. So I think most of this was in the message of the day. You also needed to enable the program output. And I think if you had all those pieces. So everybody here, just start posting like mad to the Slack channel. But all right, who's Kalu? Who's the...
All right, come on up. Let's get you this.
Free drone for you, free beer for us.
Well
So.
done.
Oh.
Round of applause. Well done. Sorry to cut you off.
Well done. Good job. You mean, sorry. This one I think is the rule that should work. Okay, well, here, let's drink beer and do the wrap up, and then we can chat and get all the pieces together. All right, well, thanks. I hope you had fun.
Thanks, Mark.